Free thinking, innovative, totally open minded guys. This is Tommy Nation Politics. Tommy Nation Politics. We're a new progressive independent media, and we're a proud also member of the INN Network, the Indie Left News, Indie Left News, IndieLeft.news, guys. For all of your Indie Left wonderful curations of real news, journalism, and the facts. I want to talk to you guys about domestic policy, and I want to talk to you about foreign policy today. We've got a lot of things to cover, and I have with me special guests Christopher Williams Thomas, who is was a counter intelligence analyst in the military. We're going to talk about domestic and foreign policy with him, and then also Michael Gardner from the Patriot Angle podcast, Unfiltered, which you can find on Anchor FM or Spotify or anywhere you can find podcasts. This is the show, the Tommy Nation Tuesday live stream, and the chat's open, guys. Be free thinking, innovative, and totally open minded.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
Tommy Nation Politics. So breaking news, guys, we have the children of a Texas elementary school mass shooting. It is reported in the Associated Press. You can also find it on ABC. 18 children dead, accounted for so far. We have the gunman who was 18 years old. He opened fire on a Texas elementary school, killing 18 children and a teacher, wounding others. Governor Abbott had a statement, and it's supposedly the deadliest shooting since Sandy Hook. So I want to show you guys the clip here. Let's see. Texas school shooting.
To Henry Ramos, who is at Uvalde Memorial Hospital. He has an update for us. That's where a lot of those victims were taken earlier today. Henry.
Yeah, Audrey, I actually just spoke with a grandmother who just walked across the street from the hospital with some good news. I just interviewed her. She told me that her grandson survived. He was shot. She said that he was shot. The bullet kind of hit him right here along the leg area. It didn't hit any bones, and it just kind of went through, is what she said. But she said the way that her grandson, who's a fifth grader at Robb Elementary, described what was happening, he said they were all hiding in his classroom, obviously scared. And he told his grandmother, he said, "Grandma, it sounded like fireworks was going off. It was just nonstop." And she said that that he was shot once. He was taken here at the hospital. The grandmother named Hilda, when she got the news that there was a shooting at Robb Elementary, she called her daughter and the grandmother, just hysterical. She said, she's like, you know what? I just got in the car. I just knew that I was going to go to the school. I was going to make sure that my grandson was okay. He was brought here at the hospital. She said for the most part, he is in good spirits. He's doing okay as best that he can. Also realizing that a lot of his classmates, didn't make it, as we've been reporting, 14 children passing away here, and a lot of the children, though, taken here. But her grandson did survive. And she said, Henry, this is something that we just, and something that we have been hearing, something that I have been sharing, and talking with different people, is that they didn't expect for something like this to happen, especially given at any point, but given that this was the last week of school. But she said her grandson just left the hospital here, and he actually walked out with a couple of police officers, I believe from Uvalde. He walked out with them. And I told her if we could share that photo with all of you. And so she said she's going to send it to me here shortly. She's actually on her way to her grandson's home.
So, guys, while we have some midterms coming up, we've got the Democrats and Republicans going off about, they've got their various issues. We've got, of course, Joseph Elizabeth Biden, who did a speech in Buffalo just last week about the hatred and venom that reverberates through our society. We also have of course, the Republicans, as the Democrats hide behind race. We have the Republicans hiding behind, it appears, children, with their banning of different thought experiments, social ideologies, sexual gender identities. But I have it with me on the panel here. I'm gonna get your thoughts on this, guys. So first of all, this mass shooting, guys. Did y'all hear about this today? Earlier, like I just heard about it 2 hours ago because I was working. But my first question is, where's Alex Jones? Is this a hoax? What do you think, guys?
If I may, I was just this was just brought to my attention maybe 4 hours ago.
Yeah,
Okay, Tommy, I just did a piece on this on my show, just briefly coming onto your show a few hours ago, and my co-host Jimmy the Rant. I mean, we discussed this, and he brought this into the show, and he's like, "Did you hear the mass shooting in Texas?" I'm like, "What?"
right.
I mean, I was silenced on it because I mean I have notifications that pop up, on any device that I use, and I didn't see this on Breitbart. I didn't see this on Newsmax. I sure as hell didn't see it on Fox. So I mean, this is definitely a developing story. You know what I mean?
It is. I mean, the narratives are already going, and maybe the reason we didn't hear it on the mainstream media news is because they're all trying to develop their spin. And so the shooter was, I think he was Hispanic, so he's not a white supremacist. So that's probably why you didn't hear it on MSNBC. And so everybody's trying to figure out what to think. KT, do you have any thoughts on why, in fact, we've had 200 mass shootings? I mean, you've experienced war and stuff. So, I mean, what's with the domestic turmoil? What do you think?
This shooting, most recent in Texas, Uvalde is only about 2.5, 3 hours west of San Antonio, where we grew up. One of my friends, actually, she moved out close that way, and she's a teacher, not at that school, not in Uvalde, but to the east of it a bit. So it definitely happened. It's a real thing. It's a real tragedy. And I don't know why this young man felt this was the only method he had left, but domestic violence has been increasing the last 10, 20 years. There's just so many other issues our society has. More and more of us are kind of, breaking down one way or another.
So you know who I blame about that, guys? As you probably, if you've watched this podcast, I blame the people that are feeding off the division of our country, the people who get off on it, the people who make us hate each other. I blame those two parties, the Democrats and Republicans. I believe they're the symptom and they're the problem and they're the thing that needs to be solved. But also, we have, of course, a long history of white supremacy in the country, which we talked about last week. And Michael actually initiated the conversation with me about critical race theory, which I'd not really thought about that very much, but I've become kind of disillusioned with that
Yeah.
and the anti-racism along with that because of the corruption of Black Lives Matter, and also the fact that, guys, we can't ignore the poverty and the oppression of just income inequality. We can't ignore that as the thing that is regressing us towards these kinds of mentalities. That's what I think. What are your thoughts, Michael?
Well, I mean, you speak on CRT, right? It's becoming a heated topic in today's society of politics, and a lot of people, they want to push agendas, they want to push narratives, but let me set the stage here. Okay, folks, this is nothing new. Nothing new. I talk about this on my show constantly about CRT. Okay, critical race theory. What they're doing in schools today. Okay. I've gotten into a point where it's becoming so radicalized, Tommy, so out of control that they're literally making excuse points after excuse points. Something needs to be done because you have these children now that are in schools, okay, trying to learn normal education. I mean, I can go into other topics relating what's being taught in schools, American schools today. It's disgusting. They're teaching about CRT. They're teaching about false history points. Okay,
Like,
whether you
like
want to agree with them or not,
such as is there an example of that, of false history points? Like, what do you know of a false history point that they're pushing?
Well, they're pushing. You're talking about critical race, right? They're pushing about falsehoods about the indoctrination. They're pushing about transgenderness. They're pushing about falsehoods about Martin Luther King and what he stood for. Oh, Martin Luther King was really this when he really wasn't that. Like what? It's in the history books. How can you try to erase history when it's already what already happened? They're Tommy, they're trying to erase stuff that already happened. They're trying to teach this next generation of youth of what happened really didn't happen. It was all a big lie.
So, I mean, Casey, do you have any thoughts on that? On any of this?
Well, Mike, I was just what is a specific example you mean of them changing the history of Martin Luther King Jr.?
Well, I could say one thing, okay, for an example. Okay, just recently, there was an article that came out of the Atlanta Journal. I live in Metro Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, and there is a huge political shift going on in Atlanta. Okay, we all know Atlanta's been a heavily Democratic city for years. Okay, but if you look at the latest political angles coming into Atlanta, Atlanta is basically becoming a middle point of the political party. Okay, you have a lot of influence being brought in by Georgia's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, she's trying to influence a lot on the Republican side. Okay, which I agree with you, Tommy. I want to say you did mention one point with the Republicans and Democrats. Yes, it's on both sides. Okay, it's not just the right side; it's on the left side. We're seeing both sides literally battling each other for
Right, as they
basically
have for hundreds of years.
yes,
And
they're
and
battling each other for grand supremacy. Okay, that's
right.
all that's what it boils down to.
But don't
Okay?
you know that
Uh,
don't you know that they will eventually compromise, and they will leverage the less fortunate in doing that, as they did in the 1850 compromise when they made free states and slave states. That's literally what they'll do at the end. I already know, like this is a game that they play that I already know the ending to because there's always
it's
that
the
ending.
same yeah, it's the same damn game they've been playing for, almost 200 years now.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the
So
Republicans, yeah, the Whigs, right? The original party, the Republicans, the Whigs, right? The Democrats were always the Democrats, but it's becoming a, a new how can I say it on your show? It's becoming somewhat of a new formula, that we're seeing.
a new formula. I mean, so looking up this critical race theory because I really don't care. I learned nothing in school, which is why my parents took me out because like they don't teach anything but I mean, do they teach you how to balance a budget? Do they teach you how to do a job interview? Do they teach you real life skills, or do
They
they teach
should.
you the things that are regurgitated in textbooks? The whole textbook idea to me, in the first place, seems like brainwashing. I don't like Bibles. I don't like textbooks. I'm a super far left, which is funny because you were talking about the far left when you were out on the page. We'll get into that later, but like I looked up critical race theory, and it's made from Harvard scholars, right? The framework has been around since the 80s, and they talk about how basically there's a underlying white supremacist system, the systemic racism, and that well, basically so there's a lot of disparities within our country. An example of that could be the prison system, which would be like blacks and whites use drugs at the same rate, but blacks are incarcerated 20% more times than whites are. Why is that happening? Why does it happen that in the 14th Amendment there's a probable cause, but these police seem to be shooting black people and for nothing, for taillights? Is that probable cause to shoot people? There seems to be a systemic underlying issue, and so they're giving me the saying that this is a systemic racism, but like, is there any other reason for these things to be occurring? I mean, I don't understand like what would be the other reason for this? What would be the other reason for these things to happen?
Listen, you're always going to have bad eggs in the batch. You are. I mean, at the end of the day, there is just the same amount of white on white crimes as there is black on black crimes, or white on black crimes, or black on white crimes. You're always going to have the same scenario get played out. Okay, until we can come as a society to understand where we need to strengthen our goals, our values as a nation. That's when we become a powerful, successful nation. Okay,
Agree.
we haven't been that type of nation since the 1800s, probably long before that time. Okay, you have other countries that are so far advanced than America. It's becoming Tommy, we are basically becoming the laughing stock of the entire planet.
Oh, we are.
You
There's
know,
no denying that. But I don't know if it's between the division of the Republican and Democrat Party that has inflicted such division on our country, or I don't know if it's the regime change wars that we're
it's a
constantly
power
engaging
grab.
in.
It really is.
It's the power of it's like Malcolm X said. It's the game of power politics. And the game of power politics, as far as Black people are concerned, we've been used as a political football, like Malcolm X explained. And as far as the others, the world, NATO was literally founded as a communist-hating organization to take down Cuba, Fidel Castro, the Soviet Union, and Venezuela, and to take those resources and colonize them and bring them back to the mother country, which we've done. Now we outsource jobs and we don't make anything, so there's no reason we should have resources. But that's really why NATO was formed, and it's clear as the get-go, kind of creeping into foreign policy. Why exactly, to me, Vladimir Putin feels threatened. It's because we're insane, bloodthirsty. We tasted the blood of Saddam Hussein. We've tasted the blood of Muammar Gaddafi. And we have a policy of regime change. And now we've asked Finland and Sweden to join NATO. We've asked Ukraine, who's on the border of Russia, to join NATO. Why should not Vladimir Putin feel threatened about that? Why is that not a good excuse? That's still unanswered to me. So, KT, I need your input on that, please.
Sure. Just because I want to give you as clear and fulfilling an answer as possible, what exactly are you asking my opinion on? The war in Ukraine?
Okay, so let's just break it down, because I know there's
of NATO.
You're right. I did say a lot. So let's just break it down. I do want you to answer these questions. So my first question is, Vladimir Putin's excuse, is it propaganda or is it based in fact?
Excuse, you mean
feeling threatened because Ukraine will join NATO, which is an enemy of Russia.
Putin's side, from the information available to me, I'm sure he feels justified doing any decision he makes. He's Vladimir Putin. He's been president of a very large country for decades now, survived multiple assassination attempts, and tons of just geopolitical intrigue, we'll say. So he's certainly not a dumb man. I also don't know how any single person in charge of that much power could not be affected by it over time. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Oh, no doubt. And he's been president of that country for about 20 years. So probably a dictator. Okay, so is there anything Vladimir Putin's done, though, that the United States government hasn't done? Just wondering.
It's a fair question. It should always be noted, although I have been a member of the U.S. Armed Forces and am a government contractor, nothing I say reflects any official opinion of the government or any company I may or may not be affiliated with.
They're already fucking bloodthirsty murderers. Why would you even give that? I understand.
I don't know if I would say that in particular.
We disagree with that. I forgot we disagree on that.
Yeah, but I mean, generally speaking, countries they're not alive, right? Countries aren't monsters. They're just very large conglomerate organizations. They're businesses at this point. And a business in a capitalistic world has to eat to continue living and growing. So it's just businesses and countries fighting the same battle they always have over resources big and small.
Michael, thoughts on Vladimir Putin's excuse and the war in Ukraine? Any thoughts on that we're talking about?
Yeah, foremost, this is a former military guy here you have on the show, so he does have to basically set a disclaimer here on the show that he's not a biased individual. So that's why he had to say that on the show. You said they're fucking bloodthirsty animals. I get.
I know.
They are. I get his
I'm just
demeanor.
messing with KT. I know.
I know, but I get KT's demeanor. He does have to show that that one side he can't. But I mean, this you're saying Vladimir Putin, right? Folks, you have to understand something. This is a smart individual. Let's set the standards here, okay? Let's set the stage. This is a former intel officer turned president. He knows his stuff. He knows he's a highly intelligent man when it comes to the intelligent world of this planet. He knows everything inside and out. My viewpoints are on it between Zelensky, and Putin. What it comes down to both of those leaders, Tommy, it's basically a supremacy thing. That's what I think it is. It's two leaders trying to show supremacy of both their armies, the Ukrainian army and the Russian army. That's what it comes down to. It's like who has the bigger muscle behind each country. Zelensky is playing that baby face individual. Well, I'm doing it for the Ukrainian people. And then you have Vladimir Putin saying, well, I need to do certain things because we feel an immediate threat from Ukraine. I don't think there's a threat issue. I think it's a supremacy issue. We've seen it with other countries. We're now seeing it with Ukraine and Russia. That's my viewpoint on it.
That's an interesting viewpoint. Would you echo that, Casey? I don't think I let you finish. I think I just made fun of you. Sorry. Go ahead. Did you finish your point?
Certainly, Russia wants to exert its supremacy. The reason it's been allowed to exist at its size within the various geopolitical arenas it operates, east and west, is only by exerting supremacy for both sides. NATO for Europe and your kind of modern democratic societies, and Russia and the end of the Soviet Union and a sort of proto-communist society. The only way they can coexist is with some kind of border state. And as globalization has connected us more than probably any of us ever expected or wanted, the borders keep shrinking and shrinking. So all these border countries now are being forced to make decisions, which side they got to pick. Some of the decisions are being made for them. But yeah, Zelensky, I'm sure he's had to make a whole lot of tough decisions. One small country in the middle of two superpowers. How much can you really do?
Well, this is what's been going on as far as the globalization and the small borders. This is from BBC, guys. Check this out.
Now, the Ukrainian government says it will not agree to any peace deal or even a ceasefire with Moscow if it involves giving up any of its territory. Senior advisor to President Zelensky says making any concessions would backfire because Russia would only escalate attacks in the future. Let's go live now to our correspondent Joe Inwood, who joins us from Kyiv. Joe, I mean, he's said before, hasn't he, that diplomacy is the only way, but presumably when things are more stable and nobody's going to exploit the fact that the talks are underway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone thinks at some point diplomacy needs to kick in, but that will only happen when the conditions are right. The Ukrainians hope from their side, and I think all parties in this conflict accept that that's going to happen once a lot more fighting has taken place. Now, at the moment, that fighting is concentrated in the east of the country, the area known as the Donbass, and things are really hotting up there. In the Donbass, diplomacy feels a distant prospect. Russian forces are advancing towards the strategic city of Severodonetsk, trying to encircle the Ukrainian defenders. Heavy artillery and overwhelming force, which eventually won them the ruins of Mariupol, still their tactic. A senior advisor to Ukraine's president says only force of arms will end this conflict.
Russia sells nothing but war. It's only interested in expansion. Today it attacks Ukraine. Tomorrow it could attack any other country on the perimeter. Georgia, Moldova, and so on. There is no other formula but to subdue Russia today, so an end to the war on Ukraine's terms.
So I want to just take that little excerpt and I just want to say that this sounds like exactly what we said about Saddam Hussein. Imminent threat. He's going to hurt his own people. In fact, Mitt Romney yesterday said that we should prepare for a nuclear strike in Ukraine because Vladimir Putin might be so crazy. He might attack his own people, right? Just like Assad might gas his own people with chemical weapons. You have to wonder, where's the practical evidence of these things happening? Where's the common sense of these things happening? I look and I ask those questions, and you know what I find? I don't really see these of Zelensky and Putin. I see our CIA director, William Burns, talking about how there's no practical evidence of an imminent threat. But these things could be true. We'll just wait and see. Mitt Romney says they are. He wrote a op-ed in the New York Post basically saying that Putin will inevitably do a nuclear strike on Ukraine. So this sounds like Western propaganda. And Zelensky got $40 billion of aid from our government, military armored jets, armored tanks, right? Rounds, weapons. So this is a war paid for by the U.S. taxpayer. And, it would be one thing like if Zelensky was doing this himself. He's doing it with our money that could be used for healthcare, that could be used for living wages, that could be used for all these things. But yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts on all that. And the Donbass region, by the way, guys, I don't know if you know that there was a civil war there in the first place. There are neo-Nazis in the Azov Battalion, which is in the National Guard of Ukraine. We are funding neo-Nazis. Y'all know that? Do you know that, KT? Do you know that we're funding neo-Nazis? What do you think about that?
Well, I wouldn't say any whole company or something like that. It's just
the whole company.
We're not literally supporting a Nazi army out there with swastikas flying around.
Look up Azov Battalion in Google, bro. You'll see neo-Nazis, clear as day. Read that.
But we feel it is a requirement for our own national security and for just general international peace to support a defensive effort in Ukraine. That Instagram video you had on your page. I don't know the woman's name.
That's Tara Reid. I want to play that before we talk about that. Hold on, real quick. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to play all these videos, but I just want to give people context. So I have that. I know we
to know what elites' views are about the current proxy war the Biden administration and NATO is fighting against Russia via Ukraine, all you have to do is look at the Western media's headlines, and the stenographers will show you the talking points and the plans right there for you to see. One terrifying and sobering headline stated, America should prove it could win a nuclear war. And there's been more. And of course, then there's the journalists and politicians that are echoing this lunacy about driving us to a world war, a nuclear war, while the American and the European economies are tanking. More and more money is being funneled into the corrupt proxy war that U.S. is fighting against Russia, using Ukrainians as cannon fodder, to the tune of $53 billion when the $40 billion goes towards those weapons in Ukraine. All of that money that could be used for U.S. citizens is now being sent to Ukraine, and Europe is also sending its billions. And this combined effort to drive us closer to a world conflict is frightening. Oliver Stone, in a recent interview, talked with Lex Friedman about his documentary that was recently banned on YouTube called Ukraine on Fire. And Ukraine on Fire really laid out the history when this standoff began between U.S. and Russia and how U.S. funded and backed a coup in 2014 in Ukraine. And then, of course, there's been the massacre of 14,000 Russian nationals in Ukraine by neo-Nazis. And this denazification that Russia was trying to do, well, nationalism has come to our shores as well, and to Europe's shores. Xenophobia and Russophobia is spiraling the world into a very bad space, and nuclear war being the worst case scenario. Oliver talked about possibly a false flag that's being pushed in Donbass, where a nuclear strike would then be blamed on Russia by the U.S. and NATO. This could lead to a world conflict. And this begs the question, are there people in the Biden administration that are trying to say nuclear war can be limited? Everyone will lose.
Okay, so there's a lot of things to unpack there. And I know you disagree with us. So KT, guys, KT on Instagram said that everything she said, almost everything she said was wrong. But it makes sense to me. So I would like, free thinking. I'd like you to explain to me other alternatives.
Sure. I mean, I don't want to.
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. Because I don't. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, here's the thing. Okay, she makes a good point. Why are we wasting taxpayers' money and sending it over Ukraine when we have so many issues surrounding our own nation? Has Biden ever thought of that? Or is Biden actually thinking of anything?
Look, buddy, get off the diving board, Esther.
I mean, the elevator, Tommy, the elevator doesn't go up to the top floor with this president. I mean, seriously.
I think it does. Look, I spent a lot of time, Michael, asking myself, are the Democrats stupid or are they doing it on purpose? and I realize that they're doing it on purpose. But go ahead, KT. I'm sorry. I really want to know. I want to unpack this because to me, this is my thought. These are my thoughts too. So I need to get these debunked if I have to. Go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I'm glad to provide any information I can. What I posted on your post of her video was that almost everything she said is wrong. I agree with you. The amount of money in general we spend on international affairs compared to domestic issues is a concern that at least temporarily should change. I don't think you get to be one of the world's top 3 superpowers and you don't have a responsibility because, again, with globalization and capitalization, we have so much because other places don't have as much. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, that's how the system works. So I do feel we have a responsibility to the globe, not necessarily the planet's police force or its peace bringers. Every country should be taking care of itself. So I can't agree with that amount of aid going over, but just trying to take things in order from what she said. So she mentioned elites. I don't know who elites are. I don't know what that means. She mentioned proxy war by Biden and NATO. It's not a proxy war. It's an actual war. So nuclear war as a goal or an intention, I don't know anyone who would ever actually want nuclear war.
See, I'm
not worried about nuclear war happening in anytime in the near future, which isn't to say a nuclear accident couldn't happen.
You really give the benefit of the doubt to these psycho, murdering, rapist politicians, bro. You really
see.
do.
I think
you really do. You really give them the benefit of the doubt. They really do want nuclear war, bro. But I really think so.
A realist view to it, in my opinion. I think you may be giving them too much credit.
Who was on the Fox News? Lindsey Graham talking about they are going to use nukes. We'll use nukes. Who's asking? Who said bunker down for a nuclear threat when there's no actual practical evidence? The New York Times. Who's pushing this nuclear story?
Ever actually knowing how to swing them or being willing to swing them.
They're all talking about it.
But where's the real threats? I haven't seen any real threats coming out of this story in months. Where's the threats?
They're getting us ready. They're conditioning us for nuclear something, aren't they? Don't you think they're conditioning us, KT, for something? If they keep talking about nuclear weapons and nuclear strikes, there's no practical evidence for this, but they're still talking about it?
I think certain media outlets are using these things to get their hits in. That's about it.
KT makes a good point. It's a huge diversion. It's another distraction point by this mainstream media, corrupted politician administration, if you want to call it that. Another diversion, another distraction point. They're setting themselves up, Tommy, for the next pandemic, or what I like to call the plandemic. It's another plandemic that's being orchestrated by this administration. Okay, we're seeing plandemic after plandemic after plandemic. Christ, we just got done seeing the last 2 years of this COVID nonsense. Okay, some of it was a lot of nonsense. Believe in the science. Believe in the science. Yeah, okay. Then we went from the damn COVID pandemic to the baby formula shortage, which is a complete lie. Complete lie. Canada up north, and I have sources from friends that live in Canada. They don't have a baby formula shortage. Okay, they order the same inventory of products from the same type of inventory merchants of third-party vendors in that aspect as America does. It's another distraction point. Then from the baby formula, now we're into this another pandemic, monkeypox. I can't keep up, Tommy. I can't keep up.
Neither can I, but I want to keep up with all the people that are watching on the live stream. Hey, you guys, how's it going? Human Love Solidarity says all actions from the beginning of history is based in economics. How's it going? I agree with you. And also, David Bergeron says that we want our healthcare money reimbursed from Biden war. I agree with you. Where is our fucking Medicare for all in the middle of a pandemic, Joe? Where's our legalization of marijuana, Joe? What executive orders are you signing that are going to help the American people? Or did you promise that your donors that nothing is going to fundamentally change? I mean, literally, I could go on and on to that for that. Human Love and Solidarity says we borrow money from future generations. We have no intention of paying this back, guys. They'd rather nuke the country. They would rather nuke the country. And that's my honest answer, guys.
You
So
can't pay
now,
it back.
I mean, we can't pay it back, but we're not intended to pay it back. It's literally we're sharecroppers. You know the story of sharecroppers, Michael. You do,
Yeah.
KT, right? You know about sharecroppers? Like
Yeah.
how after the slavery, they literally gave black people land, and they were like, "Oh, you could own this land, but see, we'll give you the crops, we'll provide you with all of the necessary requirements. You know, someday you're going to own it. Someday you're going to be the owner, right? You're gonna." And then it turns out that all of the expenses were so high, and all of the logistics were so impossible that these people never got to own the land. It was all just a fucking gimmick. It was all just a trap to get people to be controlled again. And it was
But this
slavery
is
all over again.
nothing new, Tommy. I mean, you see this in other countries. You see this in UK. Slavery hasn't first started in America. Okay, I wanna educate the uneducated here for a minute. Okay, let's remember, slavery was not first established in America. There are centuries upon centuries of slavery from other types of the world. The UK enslaved their own people. African, people of Africa enslaved their own people. This goes from different types of the world. Slavery has been around for generations upon generations. I mean,
I agree
nothing
with
new.
you, but the new part is the white supremacy part, where it's in other aspects. In Rome, you could win your slavery with the trials of gladiatorship. You could have a glory.
But
And
Tommy,
here there was
can
a caste system where there was white people
yeah.
in the supremacy, and there was inferior people who couldn't look people in the eye, could never get out of it, could never escape, and if they tried, there was a clan that would hunt them down. So that
Yeah.
was a
But
difference.
but Tommy, let me say this here, and with all due respect, there are just as many white supremacists as there are black supremacists or Asian supremacists. There are all different types of races in this world that show supremacy. Okay, they are Asians. Like I'm just repeating myself. If you go to any country, there are going to be their own race against another race. You can go to Canada. You can go to a Providence in Canada right now. Okay, regular Canadians are being suppressed by French Canadians. It's
French
always been like
Canadians.
that.
Casey, what do you think? You think there's a difference in not in any of
Well, I
that?
mean, certainly there are individuals
I'm
of
sorry I'm
every
getting
race
heated on your
and
show, but
Please get heated on my show. This is the part where we have discussions. I want us to talk this out. Go ahead, Casey.
yeah, I mean, certainly there are individuals in every race and ethnicity, nationality who feel one group is superior or inferior to another. In terms of your statement, there are as many white supremacists as black supremacists and Asian supremacists. I would not agree with that statement. Surely, just because of the numbers of the colors of people in the world, there's a lot more, quote unquote, you could kind of Caucasian white people. So statistically, there's most likely more white supremacists than some other colors, but that's not to say white supremacy is worse than any other type of supremacy. Any supremacy is terrible.
Of course.
right.
On
But this is
a kind of a
also
leaning to the other direction, I almost personally, I think, Tommy might know this. There's a musical called Avenue Q. Came out back in
I know you're talking about.
2007. It was on Broadway for a minute, but there's a song from it called "Everyone's a Little Bit Racist." None of us as humans are perfect. We all make stereotypes and generalizations based on the information we have. Sometimes it's hurtful, sometimes it's non-intentional. None of us perfectly look at the world as a rainbow, at least once you leave your childhood behind. I think there's some innocence in children, and they generally accept everyone, and it's incredible. But as we get older and the world is mean to us, we start closing up. But I think if everyone admitted to being a little bit racist, we would move along quicker in fixing things.
I thought that was the whole point of CRT.
More concerned with being right than having the right answer.
Right.
I agree with you. I thought that was the whole part of CRT. Is that not the reason for the scholars to have the critical race theory in the first place? To look through the eyes of people that are marginalized.
So critical race theory, yes, it's as of now kind of held. 70s, early 80s is when it quote unquote came into being as an official theory, but really it's just another way of examining history or society, right? Immanuel Kant is usually brought up when you talk about ethics. consequentialism versus maybe agent focus, things like that. It's just another way of looking at the world where there have been racist events in American history. That is undeniable. So before we get to, is America a racist country or not, opening yourself up to, at times in history, racist people have been in charge of subjugated people in America. How might that have affected how laws were done, how finances were pushed along the way and created gaps in generational wealth, things like that. So as a tool for study to examine and try to fix things moving forward, I think critical race theory is useful. I personally don't know any elementary school, middle school, even high school that is officially pushing any sort of critical race theory in class. I know it's in college. In some high schools, social studies teachers on their own may bring it up. But I haven't heard of it or seen it myself anywhere more than that.
So I have a lot of conversations with both sides of the aisle, and a lot of times the right wing has very good points, especially when it comes to Joe Biden, because I feel like in partisan politics, the other side is always right about the other side being completely horrible. They're both horrible, though. All you have to open the other eye. That's what I always say. Just open the other eye, guys, and you'll see the truth. But I don't like the "Don't Say Gay" bill. Now that was a very interesting thing because I don't really know the purpose of it, but I do know that the left-wing media branded it as a "Don't Say Gay" bill, when that's not even the name of the bill. That's not even remotely. There's no language of it in there. So it's like knowing the truth and knowing the reasons, the agenda is almost impossible now.
Yeah, actually, Tommy, the "Don't Say Gay" bill was actually the whole label behind that was actually introduced by mainstream.
Yes,
mainstream
I know.
pushed that severely. With Ron DeSantis of Florida, passing that,
right,
that law.
And people don't even know the real name of the bill. They just keep calling it the "Don't Say Gay" bill.
This is what a lot of people are calling different names of it. I hear different types of names. "Don't Say Gay" bill. Don't say the alphabet people bill. I mean, don't see the LGBTQ plus bill. There's so many names.
But incorporated in the bill, it's about not talking about sexualization, I guess, from ages 10 through 12.
Yeah.
And what was the purpose of that in the first place, though? That's what I wanted to know.
Here's my opinion on it. Okay. And this is my opinion, folks. You could agree with it or you don't have to agree with it. I'm not gonna do a hissy fit and say, "Oh, you're wrong. I'm right." No, I'm not like that. Okay. I think you're talking about, is it important to teach in schools? Is that your question?
No, I say, was it a problem, and why was it? How did it become a problem? Because for every law that's created, there's got to be a reason behind it, right? That's the reason for. Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, here's the problem behind it. Okay, should it be taught? Yes. Let the parents teach their children about that. It should not be discussed in schools as young as 5 and 6 years old. First and foremost, that's disgusting. And that's a disgrace, on the school boards throughout the entire country. When I was going to school, Tommy, I wasn't learning about it's okay to be a boy when I was really a girl, or it's okay to be a girl when I'm really, vice versa. I wasn't learning about that. I was learning about the continental U.S. I was learning about history of our country, how our country was founded, our 4 founding fathers, how the Constitution was brought into the United States. Okay. I was learning about the good sides of America, the bad sides of America. That is history that everybody should know, whether it's good history or bad history. You learn from your history, and that's how you go forward. But teaching a child about transgenderness in kindergarten? No. You want to teach that in college. Let the parents teach that.
I mean, I agree. It should be taught in college. Because kids are so dumb, they can't really grasp these things.
Well,
also,
they're not dumb.
I'm the same. Yes, they are. They don't know anything. So I
no.
I'm
Kids
sorry, I
today
spoke
are very smart.
bluntly.
Yeah. Kids today are very smart. These kids today are anywhere between 10 to 20 years advanced than we were when we were their age. They have technology at the grasp of their hands.
They do, and they use it to look up porn. It's amazing.
Well,
that was a joke. Nobody laughed.
Hopefully not. Hopefully, mommy and daddy are monitoring their kids a little bit more, right?
So you believe in censorship, huh? No, I'm just saying, guys, that like on all sides of the aisle, on all sides,
You
on all
put that in
spectrums
my
of,
mouth. I didn't say
I
that.
know, bro.
Yeah.
I know. See, but like my point is like on all of these issues, they're all complicated issues. But then the Democrats and Republicans get a hold of these issues, and then all of a sudden they become divisive things that cause us to hate each other and cause us to be absolutely disgusting with each other.
The
This whole
flippy-flop
transgender
scenario,
thing.
I
I
call
feel
it.
bad for people that are transgendered because now they're literally highlighted in the news, and the people, they're being highlighted and they're being hated on by one side, and they're being held up as idols by the other side. And in reality, there's people that need food, clothes, shelter, medical health care. They need a living wage, and they need a Green New Deal, and they need they need marijuana to smoke because these people are fucking talking about them on the CNN. I would be smoking a lot of weed if I was transgender. So it's weird how we take these groups of people and we sacrifice them to the gods, the Republicans and the Democrats, just like we did those 10 grieving families. Joe Biden got up and read some on the teleprompter. Oh, she picked strawberries. That's why she was in the store and got shot. She was going to make family dinner. That's why she got shot. Why is Joe Biden there? To get votes, to garner support because he's got 33% rating.
But Tommy, this is coming from the same guy that said at one time, "You ain't black if you don't vote for me."
Right.
I mean, come on. When you hear that, it's like, you know what I mean?
The point is we're being used, guys. That's my point. I hope that was clear. Casey, what do you think about all that? Just pick one, bro. I know I say a lot of things. Just pick one.
Biden did say that. Not necessarily a statement I agree with.
Look,
what
you ever been to Iowa?
Was that laws aren't created for no reason. You said something to that effect, and there've definitely been laws created for really no particular reason. Politicians want to win. To win, they need votes. To vote, you need an issue that people will support you for. You may not care about it at all. You may even be against it. But if in your community, it's going to get you the win, some people will do whatever it takes to win. So you find a way to politicize every single possible thing. And now with the speed of technology that we have, an issue can be very important and then not matter the next day. So they want to grab whatever the hot button issue is and keep whacking that button till the votes are spent. And then what's the next issue in line and keep whacking it.
That causes
long-standing now, for example, President Biden, there are issues he spoke for when he was in Congress in his younger years that he is now against. There are bills that he helped create and have been laws for decades now that he's speaking against, but he helped make them 20 years ago. So
right.
Yeah, but is he truly against those type of agendas that he was in the 80s and 90s?
Right.
We have to ask that question.
His party, and he feels it's in his best interest to give the image of being changed.
But I'll say again.
What do you think?
I'll say again.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say it again. Is he truly against those bills that he once was in favor for? Okay, because we have a different type of political agenda now today. Okay, it's ran by different types of movements, different types of messages. He said briefly, okay, on a gun law that guns should be entirely left for people to defend themselves, but on a responsible angle. All right. Now he is like two-sided against that. I just seen that just recently. What was it about? Recently, when I say recently, it goes back to like maybe 6-8 months. That's recently to me, okay? Right. Because they'll stay on that point and they'll actually kind of tippy-toe of everything. Biden is a man that kind of tippy-toes on a lot of different angles. He says one thing and then he goes back and says, "Well, I didn't really mean to say it like that." Okay, well, what did you really mean to say, Joe?
He's a liar.
Yeah, he is a liar. Don't get me wrong. Okay,
and a plagiarist.
But is Basement Joe, right? Delusional Joe. Is he really saying this, or is there like an earpiece somewhere in his ear that we can't see that's telling him what to say? Is Big Brother telling Joe what to say?
It's probably the dementia. That's what I think. But I want to wrap up this with going back, doing a little round robin here, guys, because we touched on the gun issue, and everybody's going to talk about gun control. and everybody's going to talk about this couldn't have happened. Texas has massive amounts of Republicans all over the place, gun rights galore. But in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, there was a mass shooting. I still want to know what Alex Jones thinks about this. And in Texas, there was a mass shooting. I'm just going to say my opinion, guys, and then I'll go around to Michael and UKT. I'm going to say, guys, that no amount of gun legislation is going to phase away the hatred that has disseminated from the division in our country, hundreds of years of it. And we were talking about how, KT, the hot button issues, they keep whacking. That causes a long-standing detrimental effect. Just because they're done being elected doesn't mean people stop caring about these issues. And they get obsessed with them. They write manifestos about them. They hate people because of them. And it goes on and on and on. No amount of gun legislation, guys. I hate to be, I'm a leftist, but I hate to tell you this. There's no amount of gun legislation that's going to fucking wipe away the hatred and keep you safe from people that hate you because of politicians that are feeding off of it. And because of other reasons, they're mentally ill. What do you think about gun control and the mass shootings? What needs to be done, guys? Michael, go first.
All right. It's not a left issue. It's not a right issue. You make a good point, right? There's not a amount of laws that can change the hatred in this country. Okay. I mentioned earlier in the show, there are white on white crimes as much as black on black crimes. You just don't see it because it's the media narrative to always show you that white on black type of crime because it's a selling point. At the end of the day, the media looks at it as like a huge rating boost. Oh, we're going to show a black individual getting his ass beat by a white person somewhere in Metro Atlanta or somewhere out in Detroit or anywhere, just to label something for a small example. No amount of laws will change it. I agree with you on that, Tommy. Okay, guns don't kill people. People kill people. Okay, when you place that gun in that person's hand, that person is committing murder. Okay. If you take away the guns, you're still going to have crime. People are going to find ways of murdering somebody without a gun. I happen to reside in Atlanta, right? I'm originally from New York City, as you could probably hear in my voice. I've seen the same amount of crime here in Atlanta versus New York City. The same amount of crime. Same amount, just a different city. Okay? They're always going to find ways, Tommy. They're always going to find ways to hurt you. You can't take away guns.
This is almost 200 mass shootings in the past year, and so I don't know. KT, what are your thoughts about that gun control and all that?
So America has suffered from a gun issue for a number of generations now. You can't legislate peaceable gun control. You can't legislate peace. You can legislate a ceasefire, but you can't really legislate peace, right? The morality and the other issues involved, social, economic, emotional, psychological, even nowadays, those are the causes of the symptoms that need to be fixed. But it's not just an American problem. Europe and the UK and France, knife attacks are way up because they pretty much ban guns, but people are going to attack with something that they want to. And I believe there was a story this week or last week, Norway or Denmark. A man went on a rampage with a knife and a bow and arrow and killed over 10 people. So if somebody really wants to do it, they'll find a way.
I agree with you. They will find a way. It's like they said in Jurassic Park, life finds a way, guys.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Tommy. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Don't be sorry. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. Okay. You could look at an example, a great example. Okay. There's so many mass shootings. Why are we having mass shootings? Why isn't the National Rifle Association getting involved? Why aren't these people being screened on their mental illness evaluation?
That's true.
Every single person that decides to purchase a gun on any platform, online, in the store, anywhere, why isn't there enough involvement coming out of the NRA? Get your asses together, screen these individuals. I don't want some nut job walking down the damn block that suffers from high levels of mental illness, have a gun, an assault rifle, anything for that matter. Hell, even a freaking fucking bow and arrow, for Christ's sakes. I don't want to go down the damn street and have some mass lunatic decides that, oh, I had a bad day because my girlfriend broke up with me and I can't take the day on a serious note. I'm just going to go shoot somebody. What does that say for your society? It goes down to the federal level, Tommy. Get these officials on a serious note. You want to end mass shooting? Screen out the individuals properly. You want to blame CRT? You want to blame all this crap? Okay. That makes good ratings on CNN. Okay, that makes good ratings on Fox News. Wonderful. But the real issue is it has nothing to do with that. End that whole CRT bullshit because it's bullshit. It's a damn talking point to get the damn ratings for another distraction point in America. Get the NRA more involved with these people that should not have the damn gun in the first place.
Wouldn't that be less profitable for the NRA? Probably. I mean, like I said, guys, are they stupid? Are they doing it on purpose? I'm starting to know the answer. Katie's still giving him the benefit of the doubt. Michael's making good points.
Well, I'd say my official answer to that is: are they stupid or are they doing it on purpose? The answer is yes.
They ain't stupid, KB. They're very smart.
Again, you might be overestimating some of these guys and girls, but it's been a pleasure talking with you all.
Hey, so last thing before we go, guys, military people. This is a question got to me. I want Katie to answer it. Human love solidarity. Military people are more likely to reproduce offspring and multiply the fighting spirit. Are you fertile, Katie? What's up? Tell the press.
I have 2 kids. I'm not really sure what that statement means. The fighting spirit. I hope my kids have a fighting spirit, that they defend themselves and they defend whatever they believe is good in the world. So sure.
That's a parent right there. Awesome. Guys, this is Tommy Nate with Tommy Nation Politics. My guest, you can find Patriot Angle. I keep wanting to say political. Patriot Angle Unfiltered. Michael Gardner on Anchor FM, and then Christopher Williams Thomas. You can find him on Instagram. You can find him on Facebook as well. He's a friend of the show. And guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. Free thinking, innovative, and open-minded new independent progressive media. And don't forget, guys, we are now part of the INN Network, and we are so happy about it. You can find the INN Network at ndleft.news. And oh shit, I was trying to find the thing. All right, cool. And you guys, Twitch too. So be free thinking, innovative, open-minded, guys. Thanks for watching the live stream. And as always, thank you for supporting the show.